I said personally, Dawn Staley is my GOAT because I feel like she's done less with more. People have said Gino and Pat Summit, but to me, that's my GOAT. But where do y'all see Dawn Staley amongst like the greatest coaches of all time in her era? What you think, Coop?
I was gonna let Paris go first, but
Yeah. All right,
um
fair.
all right, yeah, go ahead, bro.
So we just talking about women's coaches.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
I have her. I have her at third. I mean, when you talk about Pat, like she has 8 national titles. She's had 3. She has had a three-peat, and she had a back-to-back as well. And she has 17. She has the most SEC championship tournament wins as well. So I think Dawn's great. There's no doubt about it. Dawn's great, but she still has more to complete, which she can. There's no limit on what she can do. She has more to complete to catch. When we are talking about accolades and things of that nature, and it's the same with Gino. I mean, Gino still has more accolades, more consistent. I mean, Gino didn't. They were 96-0 at a point in time. Like they won 4 straight national championships at a point in time. So it's just things like, and that also goes into the argument everyone's talking about. Like Caitlyn is the greatest college women's basketball player. Like, I'm sorry, no, she's not. Like Brianna
We don't talk
Stewart
about
won.
that.
Brianna Stewart won 4 national titles. What are you talking about? So I have her at third. But again, Dawn is great. I love her. Coaching against her 3 times this year was phenomenal. She's a very great person. She speaks to everybody on the staff. She makes her jokes, pregame and everything like that, and her staff as well. Really great staff as well. But to your point about Tessa Johnson stepping up, that was big for them in that game, and it is coaching that does keep that rolling, and also that culture. Her teammates also played a huge part in her stepping up because early on in the year she wasn't that for them, but they stayed with her, and trained her and nurtured her to get to that spot to where she was by the end of the season. But I want to give a shout out to Raven Johnson. Everyone's talking about Camilla. Everyone's talking about
Great
Tessa.
point.
Everyone's talking about Malaysia, Ashton Watkins. Raven Johnson, after Bree Hall, did an okay job covering Caitlin early. She got off a little bit, made some big shots. Raven Johnson said, you know what? Let me go and shut this down. Let me go make this as hard as I possibly can. And credit, Caitlin still had 30. But Raven Johnson made that one of the hardest 30-point games that Caitlin's had in her life.
I
And
mean,
it,
30
and it
points
helped them win the game.
on 28 shots. And
Exactly.
she expended a lot of that energy on defense. So I ain't gonna hold it to her that she wasn't that productive offensively. But that takes a lot of like mental will and mental fortitude to go from you seeing somebody wave you off. The commentators is laughing. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Clark, she waving her off. I know
Yeah.
everybody, just going crazy on Twitter last year, and but one thing I love about athletes that they have a setback and then they overcome it. That's why I'm gonna always bring it back to Philly some way, somehow. That's why I don't have respect for Ben Simmons, because it's like all you gotta do is work on your game and you're going to overcome this stuff. Like it's only like temporary. And so I got major respect for Raven for just battling through that and standing on business, being like, yo, this is a revenge tour and I'm out to seek revenge for what happened to me. And before I pass it to you, Cope, I like that she didn't even take it personal to Caitlyn. She was like, yeah, it hurt me, but I get like she's a competitor, and if the men can talk crazy and all, like I ain't mad that Caitlyn waved her off. That's what you're supposed to do. It's competitive. It's sports. We all play sports at some point. Like when it really gets down to the field, the court, whatever it is, like it's a different mindset that you're at. It's like you a dog. Like Caitlyn's a dog. Raven's a dog. Like they all dogs. So what you guys say about Dawn Staley's legacy and all that, Coop?
Yeah, we have these conversations a lot, and I'm like, we gotta chill with the recency bias. Like we gotta chill with the recency bias, and that's what I feel like a lot of us succumb to a lot of times when we're watching sports, right? Like something great happens, and we forget about all the greatness that has happened before. So I agree with P. Don is number 3, and that's just the fact of the matter. And I know, like, as black people, we always want to, like, you know what I'm saying, we always want to uplift ours, you know what I'm saying, or whatever the case may be. But the facts are the facts. The fact of the matter is that Dawn Staley is still number 3 behind Pat and Gino. Gino, you can say what you want about, you know, he had all-star, superstar teams or whatever. I don't care how good your team is on paper. Like, you still have to go out there and win. And at one point, like he said, they were 96-0, and it's hard to win no matter what. And so if you keep winning 96 times over and over, like, we're going crazy over the 38-0, right? Like, they went 96-0, right? For back to back. Like, you know what I'm saying? That, like, that's crazy. So while we're going crazy over this 38-0, right? Like, let's think about the fact that there was somebody who was 96-0, right? Like, which is why Gino is who he is.
Cool. That's cool, but like, I definitely believe that. All right, accolades, you can't argue accolades. You can't argue accolades, but we can kind of compare this to like players. For instance, Bill Russell, he got more chips than Jordan, right? Like, Jordan got 6, Bill Russell, he got 11.
Let him
but
finish.
in their prime, though, who are you taking? Like who had the best years? It was Jordan, right? With Dawn Staley, I firmly believe this year is by far the best coaching I've ever seen in my lifetime, because it isn't no super duper star on that team. Like, Camila, she's a star. I ain't trying to poo-poo her, but like, she can't create her own shot. She not a Cameron Brink, like, she not that. Like, she can rebound, she can block shots, she gets a lot of offensive rebounds and stuff, but like, they don't have a superstar and they went undefeated. That's got to be the best, coaching I've ever seen, in one season.
Okay, so I'm gonna start this by off. So, as you know, Miles and Cole, I did the scouting report for this team 3 times this year. They got a superstar, and her name is Malaysia Fulwiley. She's their superstar. She is a program changer, a generational talent as a basketball player. Camila Cardoso is a superstar. When you talk about in the college women's basketball, she is a force that is unmatched offensively and defensively. You're talking about a 5 that hedges, that switches when needs to. She plays drop coverage. She blocks shots all day, every day. She takes the entire paint away. Then on the other end, she runs the floor like a deer. Great hands, great feet, finishes well around the rim. And I don't even have to talk about the offensive rebounding, because everybody in the country knows about the offensive rebounding.
Yeah.
So they also have a superstar, but then they have a superstar coach. Dawn is a superstar. Yep. And that team, the rest of that team together is a superstar. Their bench players are superstars. You're talking about a bench that was, I think at some point in the time of the season, they was averaging over 20 plus or 25 plus points off the bench. In the tournament, they had games where they had 30 plus points off the bench. We're not even talking about starters. We're talking about just bench points. So, like, to say they don't have a superstar and you have a player going top 5 in the WNBA draft that's a little absurd. But
all right, but look, in the LSU,
I got one more point. I want to cover this real quick. To say this is the best coaching job we've seen in our lifetime, it's hard to say when, okay, Pat didn't always have a superstar, and she found a way to win national championships. Gino won some national championships without some superstars too. He had really good basketball players, but the thing about both of those two is the same thing it is with Dawn. She has great culture. That is what wins as of today and back into the history. What wins national championships in women's basketball is great culture. All the teams that have won national championships in women's basketball have had great culture. And that's what wins the title at the end of the day. And there's nothing wrong with saying Dawn is third. That's still uplifting her. You're one of the 3 greatest people to ever coach women's basketball. And we're talking about millions of coaches. And you're the 3rd best as of now. And you still have so much time, as we know of, to catch the other 2.
They say Natalie
Okay.
Jordan commented for Wiley. Still has some grooming to go. Camille is a great player, but the coach is a superstar. This was a team that played their role. What you guys
I
say?
agree. I agree. Camilla's a great player. To me, she's a superstar because I know how hard it was preparing for her, actually
I
watching her
respect
go
that.
do, you know what I'm saying? So I know how much she truly affects the game. I agree. Dawn is an icon. I don't think anyone knows
Okay.
this. Dawn is an icon. But that team as a whole was a team full of superstars in their role. And I think that goes unnoticed to the surface level fan or just the naked eye. When you look at all those players and you look at what Don asked them to do in their role, they were superstars in that role every time they stepped on the court, from top all the way down. And that's how I look at that team. That team was full of superstars.